Greetings, YouTube. This is Fragments of Memory, aka the Armchair Philosopher. And this is Armchair Philosophy 101, the keeping it real phenomenon. Many people, especially in the black community, many of us as black men, have either uttered or heard the phrase, man, I'm just keeping it real, or real talk. Now, I understand that the sentiment is I want to be genuine. I don't want to put on airs. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to be a straight shooter and just tell you. Now, that's fine. Being genuine, being truthful, being factual is fine. I just find that too often people say I'm keeping it real about just everything. So, does does it make your statement more true when you say, "Man, I'm just keeping it real"? Now, and usually I've noticed that people only utter this phrase when they have something unpleasant to tell you or when you resist something that they say to you. Hey man, I'm just keeping it real. Now, is the real always unpleasant? Granted that real life is not some sort of ideal utopia. That's foolish. A utopia cannot exist in our world. But yeah, and that's another thing. Why the keeping it real is always accompanied with unpleasant news. And is that unpleasant news somehow more palatable to your sensibility simply because someone said they were being real? Hey, this went down, and I find myself saying, I don't like this. And the other person goes, man, I'm just keeping it real. I would say to those who like to keep it real, why not just simply state the truth, whether it's good or bad, and let it be that. Just let it stand. Hey, I don't like this, or hey, I like this, or hey, she's not the girl for you, or hey, she's being promiscuous. Now, granted, sometimes one's language is not always sanitized or politically correct, but I believe you can say something unpleasant and still be genuine without getting down and dirty with somebody. And I also find that, and I also ask that, does telling someone that you're keeping it real absolve you from what you just said? To me, keeping it real goes right up there with the whole no homo phrase. Like, hey, I think Bob is a handsome guy, no homo. So that whole like no homo phrase is like, oh, I can't just say, hey, Bob's a good looking guy. He gets lots of ladies. As opposed to, hey, Bob's a good looking guy, no homo. It's almost like we're trying to cover our tracks because we don't want to be judged by as something that we don't want to be perceived as. Does saying real talk make what you say palatable to somebody's sensibilities? And I know I've covered that earlier, but that's just something that's really been on my mind. Just as unpleasant things and horrible things are reality, so are wonderful and beautiful things. So if I just said, hey man, this good thing is happening around you, keeping it real, man, just keeping it real, you know. Now, are good things fantasy? So anytime there's something good, it's always a fantasy. And it seems, why does truth always have to be this bitter pill to swallow? I mean, it's only a bitter pill if one is delusional. And is saying, let me backtrack. Is saying I'm just keeping it real, is it also another way to say don't hate the player, hate the game? You know, back in the day, people said don't hate the player, hate the game, man. Well, does that mean that everything that goes down is okay? No, it's not okay. It's not cool. There's good and there's bad, and there's things that are foul. There's fair and there's foul. Now, is that whole mentality of keeping it real, just like don't hate the player, hate the game, in a way to sort of give us a sort of balm against the harsher realities, the harsher aspects of reality. Maybe I lost my job or a relationship ended, and I'm sitting here going, man, that's messed up how I got done. Oh man, we just keeping it real. This is how life goes. And that's fine to say you're being honest and you're keeping it real, but does that necessarily take the pain away of the harsher reality? And then realities are different from individual to individual and from group to group. You know how maybe in an earlier vid, if you've caught it, maybe you haven't, but you should. I talk a little bit about ecosystems and just about how everyone has their own personal little ecosystem, friends, family, upbringing, so on and so forth. Another way to say it is maybe some pop psychology or self help people or just motivational speakers talk about people have their own perceptual filters, their own lenses through which they see the world. Some see with rose colored glasses, and others see with obsidian darkness types of shades. But, and that's another thing, like, no one really can tell it like it is. Everybody says, I tell it like it is. Well, no one tells it like it is, simply because the best I can do is call it as I see it, not tell it like it is, because no one truly can tell it like it is. I can call it as I see it, but because number one, we don't see everything, we don't know everything. We're not God. And anyone who says, in my opinion, if anyone says I'm telling you like it is, I think there's a little arrogance in that statement. Because the best thing we can do is see things, we can only comment on that which we see. And then it comes from our own understanding. And if we don't have any understanding at the time, then you can't really tell it like it is because you don't have full knowledge and full information. And then we see things differently. Um, and then I also remember this video done by one of those Afrocentric conscious brothers. His name was Ray Hagins, Pastor Ray Hagins of the New Ephesus Missionary Baptist Church, aka the African Village Center. And one of the things he said was he would draw at the beginning of his sermons and talks. He would draw a circle, and he says this circle represents everything I know, everything as the sum total of everything I know and everything I think I know. So it was to say that I might present some information to you that might be outside of your circumference of awareness. And that's true even when we live life. We all are acting from our own circumference of awareness. So to sit up here and say, I tell it like it is and I keep it real, can we truly keep it real and tell it like it is? Um, and of course, new information always presents itself to us constantly. And sometimes information comes to us that might make us reevaluate and or challenge our current worldviews and personal philosophies. So that's just something that I really just think about when people say, hey man, I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. What do you think, YouTube? Can someone keep it real? And is that phrase applicable? Take care.